Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarket's podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey everybody, Remarkable Results Radio podcast, 2015. 9 years. Wow. I don't know, Michael. And I just feel like I just started yesterday. I'm so passionate about what we continue to do to bring all kinds of great wisdom and business acumen to the automotive aftermarket and all the great shows on Aftermarket Radio Network. Thank you for being here. If it wasn't for you, we couldn't do this show. We sure appreciate our listenership. And we're here at in Tarleton, New York. Just a little bit above New York City. It was a big earthquake in New Jersey just yesterday. That was a big talk. And of course, there's big talk about the eclipse in Buffalo that we're heading home for. We're at the 21st annual TST Big Event from G. Trulia and all of his great volunteers for TST. All kinds of great training and a packed ballroom today with some really great training. Now, it was sometime in February or March. I know we were at Max in Orlando at the end of January, early February, and we did a bunch of unbelievable interviews about air conditioning, about fluids, and about training and stuff. And I met a guy named Michael Ingvardsen. Did I say that right again, Mike?
You did.
Oh my God, I can't believe I said that right. A global technology training manager from Nissens. And you did an episode with us. It was episode 927. So if you love what you're hearing here from Michael now, go back to 927 in the list. Sometime I think we released it in March. And we called it Not Your Grandfather's Air Conditioning System Anymore.
Yeah.
And it was because you blew my mind.
Oh, that was not. Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Thank you.
And he flew over from Denmark.
I did.
Copenhagen.
I did. Yeah.
Damn.
Just for this venue.
It's nice to be first class, isn't it? Did you sleep?
I did sleep.
8 hours?
Not so much, but flew during the day. So
can you imagine
it was okay.
Imagine an 8-hour flight. I've never done one of those. No, I probably did when I went to Hawaii, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, but you can work.
So glad you're here. Michael, we saw Michael at dinner last night. It was a great dinner, the famous Rigoletto's in the Bronx. And we said, hey, look, you're this far away. We had such a great episode with you. Why don't you come back? And Tracy and you got together and talked about some topics. I got 4 incredible topics you really need to listen to because they're important. Question number 1 or comment number 1. Are component and tool, the AC machine manufacturers, prepared for replacement refrigerants? And if not, how should the workshop act in the future? I mean, what a great thought.
Well, thank you. I hope that was a great thought. I mean, the issue that we're seeing right now is that we're getting too many phone calls about how to fund the workshops, basically, and distributors across the globe, because we're seeing new refrigerants coming to the markets, replacement refrigerants, due to legislation, due to import restrictions, and so forth. So the new refrigerants that are coming out, that are being approved, really haven't been introduced to a lot of the aftermarket component manufacturers and AC machine manufacturers. There's a couple have tested it, of course, but except from that, we have to address it. Unfortunately, it's coming a little bit from behind, so to speak, because we weren't asked on before it was actually approved. So we get the phone call saying, so if we use, let's say instead of 134A, we use 456A as a replacement, will the warranty still be valid if we mount a new compressor and we charge for 456A? Well, the problem is that if you don't know the impact of the replacement refrigerant, you can't really say yes or no. The issue for our customers is that they basically have to ask every single manufacturer of AC machines, AC tools, and AC components that they have as a supplier if this will work, and they will still have the warranty. So, yeah.
Well, Michael, as a company with Nissens, Nissens.com, would you get some 456A? Put it in a compressor on a workshop bench and see what happens?
We've taken it a bit different approach because we have a very good relationship with Humorous and Kura. Kura is the one that actually, Kura Chemical Company is the one that actually came out with 4568. I know the people that developed it. So what we did, instead of starting testing it, we actually started to approach these people and ask for documentation that this was actually being okay to be used. And based on that information, we actually agreed that as long as it doesn't have an impact on the actual system and the efficiency, we can allow that to be used in an AC system using any Nissens, in our case, any Nissens components. If it does show that it broke down due to a replacement refrigerant or whatever, of course, the warranty will be voided. But that goes for anything. If you use the incorrect oil, if you use incorrect UV dye, of course, we will void the warranty.
But how do you tell the industry? What's the announcement like?
Yeah, and that's the issue because Nissens, of course, we are a certain player on the aftermarket, but it's the import specialist aftermarket side of things. So what's important for me is that when we do training classes, that we are being extremely specific about what's okay and what's not okay. Just like when we went from R12 to 134A, very easily we can create stories that's not really true, so to speak. So we got to be careful about all these different stories that goes around that, it could be dangerous, it could be this, it could be that. So for the training classes that we do and for the industry that we talk to every day, we got to make sure that we agree on everything. And it's not true. Completely true. We don't have to agree on everything, but we just have to make sure that this is the story that we're telling. Whether the workshop wants to go down road A or B, it's up to them. But at least we need to be very accurate about what's true and what's not true.
What if you come up with, and you put some of your components through 4, 5, 6A, and you come out with an announcement? Would other manufacturers just say, well, they did it, so we're fine, we're cool too? Or would they have to duplicate what you just did? I'm
sure they would. I mean, we did come out with an announcement to our customers saying that, hey, as long as it's an approved refrigerant in whatever country you live in, because Nissens is a worldwide company, we actually do agree that you can use it unless if it does any harm to the system. But if it's approved, it's gone through several processes of testing so that we also have to trust that's been done correctly. But the whole issue is not just components, it's also AC machines, because you have to remember that an AC machine manufacturer that says, hey, I mean, we approved it to recover 134A, now you're covering 456A. They have to vouch for the fact that the machine actually works correctly if it's got a refrigerant identifier built into it, if it doesn't, and so forth. Does the oil mix correctly? Does it do things correctly? Does it actually have an impact on the pressure switches in the AC machine? And so on, so on, so on. All those things has to be basically verified by the AC machine manufacturer, whether it's Robinair, whether it's Texas, it doesn't really matter who. But as a workshop, you can get into a lot of trouble if you haven't verified that before you start doing it. So that, yeah.
Is there anybody in the industry that's got a gut that says it may or may not? Any leaning?
No, nobody has come out publicly saying, hey, listen, I mean, whatever you use a replacement refrigerant, it's all good. Yeah. Yeah. Nobody has done that, like in a large scale.
And I'll bet you people have mixed 1, 2, 3, 4 YF and 4, 5, 6 in a tank already to see what happens.
They've mixed all kinds of things. It isn't just 456. We have to remember that one thing is that refrigerants are being approved. Another thing is what people are using. And you have to remember that for 134A, not so much the issue with the US, it's more the issue in Europe that where we have an import regulation on 134A. If you don't have 134A available and you have a car in the workshop, why not use propane, butane, 444A, whatever. I mean, so, I think we're seeing a lot of contamination that doesn't really come through to the public eye simply because you don't have a refrigerant identifier, and nobody has really identified that in the past.
Nothing like having to respect, as an air conditioning specialist, working in the bays, working to keep people's cars cool and functioning right, with all this layer of complications, new products. It's not, and again, to your point from the last time, it's such your grandfather's air conditioning. We have to pay much bigger attention.
We certainly do. And you have to remember that workshop today, we're just talking about air conditioning. And for them, we're talking about all the special fields that they have to be aware of. And simply with the design of the system, they simply break down quicker. So the fact that you change the components, the chemical components, does have a huge impact. And if we're not being very much careful, we simply won't get away with trying to cut corners in this case.
What about warranties?
Yeah,
That's another issue, right?
Well, it's a huge issue because let's imagine that your car breaks down and you go down to the workshop, they buy a compressor from, let's say, Nissens, doesn't matter who it is, and your workshop got told by their distributor saying, hey, listen, I mean, why don't you use 456A? Because COM has a 134A system, but 456A, much better green solution than 134A. And then you mount it, you charge 456A, it breaks down after 6 months, nothing to do with the compressor, nothing to do with anything else. The condenser just wasn't working correctly. Then you send it back to Nissens and they go, or we go, no, listen, I mean, you charge 456A, that you can't do. We don't have that approach, but you really got to be careful.
To your point, someone has to go online and says, we're good with it. It will work on our stuff. We'll support it.
True, but even though we do it, let's say that we as Nissens go out online and says it during our training classes, during our 500 training classes a year, we say it. We still cannot vouch for the fact that if Denso is okay with it, if Sanden is okay with it, and so forth. So every single manufacturer actually has to come out and say, yep, we do approve it. And nobody thought about this when they approved the refrigerant, basically. And you have to remember there's two steps in an approval of a refrigerant. There's legislature approval and there's component approval or AC machine approval. Those are two completely different things.
And to your whole entire point, think about the processes and the practices incorporated into the shop and how we have to say, oh, this is a 456 car. I don't know how long into the future that's going to happen, but we have a process on how we do 1, 2, 3, 4 YF. Now we have to stop and rethink that. And we don't know what's going to happen, but we have to be careful.
We really do. And you have to remember that when you really are in doubt of what's in the system and you don't have everything identified, but just want to clean everything, make sure everything is done right, and you want to go back to basis, so to speak, well, then you have to clean the system, you have to drain the refrigerant, you have to drain the oil and so forth. And within this industry, nobody's flushing a system. Nobody's cleaning a system today. So we're basically asking them to do something that they've never done before, even though they know we should flush a system when something is wrong. Now we're saying, oh, best practice, by the way, if you're not sure what's going on, you should flush it and clean it. Okay, that's great, but I don't have flushing units. So, well, back to basics. We're just going to do it like we used to be doing. Unfortunately, the impact of not doing it right with 1234 YF system, for example, is much bigger, is much greater because the volume of the oil is less. The impact of the wrong UV dye is much greater than it used to be before. So all these practices that we should have learned 20, 30 years ago is still not in place, and they're going to hit the workshops much, much harder now than they actually did in the past, because actually 134A was an extremely forgiving refrigerant that is a very stable refrigerant and didn't really react to anything whatsoever.
So what you just said, I think we should qualify it. He's not saying that's going to be the issue. He's just saying we have to pay attention.
Sorry. Yeah.
We have to pay attention. I just don't want anybody, oh my God, we got to do that. No. When it starts to happen, there's probably going to be a lot of press about it. There's probably going to be a lot of manufacturers like you going out and teaching and training and doing social media. We have to learn from the leadership of our industry what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, I can honestly say that I'm surprised that we haven't heard more about it from our customers, that they are not come back to us saying, hey, listen, by the way, we've heard about these new refrigerants coming out. What about your product? We had one customer in Holland that actually wrote us saying, hey, what is this about? But that's the only one.
Do you ever think that if they put 456A in a vehicle, they would change some of the fittings, or they would put warning on it somehow?
You wouldn't change the fitting because the pressure and everything else is the same. But definitely a sticker saying, hey, this car has been converted into a 456A
or
system.
It is OE 456A.
It is 456A, exactly. The thing is that with 456A, you wouldn't change the fitting simply because
it would screw with all the equipment and all the testers. And
so when you,
I got that.
Yeah, when you go into a different refrigerant like 1234YF, that's a different matter because the flammability classification of A2L is different.
Hey, AAPEX 2024 registration is now open at AAPEXshow.com. Now, AAPEX has an incredible value for the service professional, shop owner, technician, and service advisor. Joe's Garage is your place to hang out with 10 working bays and real live working conditions. You'll find special seminars on Audi, VW, BMW, Mercedes, Tesla, under-the-hood diagnostics, advanced drivability, ADAS calibration, transmission training from ATRA, and more. Business and sales training on mastering organizational skills, time management, leading your team, and driving profits, among others. This year, the training courses are some of the best offered ever with the industry's best and brightest trainers and coaches. This year's AAPEX 2024 will have more product demos, trending training, marketing and social media support to help you grow your career, sales, and profits. Remember, if you earn your living in the aftermarket, then AAPEX is the expo for you. Continue listening as we bring you the latest from AAPEX 2024 and save the date, November 5th through the 7th. Don't hesitate. Go to AAPEXshow.com. Hey, let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing Trax to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Trax always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, we'll be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, Trax was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPATRACS, that's NAPATRACS.com. Hey, ever wonder how your labor rate compares to your market and state? You now have a site where you can confidentially upload your rate and see other labor rates published in your market. LaborRateTracker.com is an important site to know about. Currently, the database has over 1,000 shops participating and growing every day. But there's more to setting your rates than finding out what others charge. You should look at the labor rates in your state and town to gain a complete picture of the labor rate landscape. Hey, it's easy. Get market intelligence like never before at LaborRateTracker.com. So can you imagine our industry getting together and saying at this particular junction, there will be a yellow tape around the high pressure valve or something, crazy thought that says, warning, this has a new generation refrigerant in it. Wouldn't it be cool if that ever happened?
It would be awesome. It's not, no, honestly, it's not a crazy thought. It's actually a very easy thought and a very valid one. Yeah. And it makes perfect sense that you actually, hey, I mean, now it's a new component, now it's a new refrigerant, now it's new this and that. But the problem is when you can go back and forth. I have to remember that 134A is not illegal. It's not illegal to use 134A. It's just environmentally better to use 456A, but it's a choice. It's a conscious choice that the workshop makes. But then again, yeah, if they make that choice, it also comes with a lot of doubts about whether the warranty is still valid and everything else. And I can honestly say that nobody's really been aggressive about informing the market about this. We've done it because we have training classes, and we do it that way. That's it.
What do you hear about the cost of the new stuff?
The cost is about the same as 134. Well, replacement refrigerants are not going to be more or less expensive. That's going to be in line with whatever you have today anyway. So the cost is not going to be why you choose it. The reason why you choose it, first of all, and you have to remember, we have to make a difference between the US and Europe and China and everything else. Because in Europe, we have an import restriction on 134A. You don't in the US, okay? So in the US, choosing a replacement for 134A has to be an active green choice. In Europe, when you don't have 134A, you're forced to use something else, and that's where 456A comes into the picture. Pricing is the same. The only thing that differs is how much tax are you going to pay on one or the other, green tax as we call it in Europe. Mm-hmm. So they just vary that depending on what 134A is today.
Yeah, keep in mind that we import a lot of European cars.
Exactly.
And they're going to smell and look different when it comes to the repair of many components. Like, did I say smell different? Yeah,
you did.
I did, and I meant that maybe to be a little facetious because, pun intended. So you've got heat pumps going on, and they're coming into our industry. We're doing electric batteries to do some of the heat stuff. So we've got to pay attention, huh?
Oh, you do. I'm concerned. To be honest, from a technical perspective, I'm concerned with the fact that we haven't narrowed things down when it comes to normal AC system, warranty situation with normal AC systems. And now we're talking about heat pump systems, which we covered a little bit. You asked me to explain last time if I could do that, and I said no.
Yeah.
I did it anyway.
And I had I'm telling you, if you listen to that episode, what was it? What did I say? It was 927, not your grandfather's AC. And I said, I don't know a whole lot about heat pumps. I'm trying to learn, but every time I have a mental block on heat pumps. You did your best. And I went back and listened to it, and I think I know, but I'm not sure.
Well, you can sit on a training class in STX. So if you want to do that.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, that's going to be exciting.
It would be, you hurt my brain even more. Exactly. Oh, my God, I got Swiss cheese brain now. Heat pump brain. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the whole thing. We're seeing heat pump cars come over.
And in Europe, we are very heavily believing in heat pumps. So all European vehicle manufacturers will, when it comes to EV, will definitely go towards that because it is just the way it is. And if you don't really have that narrowed down, as I said before, with a normal AC system, the impact on not doing things right on a heat pump system is devastating because this car simply won't work. Without the AC system, the battery pack will not be cooled down because that's where you use the AC system or the heat pump. So it's a much greater impact that there is on that. And the cost that comes with a breakdown of a heat pump system, because you're not really sure what actually got damaged along the way. You could potentially be looking at replacing not just one part, two parts. You could be looking at replacing an entire system or 8 to 9 components, which is close to being €3,000, $3,000 basically of a repair, which I don't think any EV owner is prepared for. Like I said, they're not prepared for that.
Okay. Is there different training
there is
necessary to really help diagnose a heat pump system?
Well, there is and there isn't, because if you know what we call heat transfer or temperature pressure ratio,
right,
you should be fine. Unfortunately, without knowing that and without knowing exactly how a heat pump system actually thinks, and I think that's a crucial thing here, is not the fact that you don't know how it works, the way it thinks, okay? You have to understand that there's multiple flows in a heat pump system, and if you understand how the computer works, definitely understand how the flow of the refrigerant works in a heat pump system. And once you understood that, it's a piece of cake.
Like anything. Piece of cake.
Just like marriage. I mean, if you know how it works, you should be fine. But the problem is that not everybody, a lot of people get divorced because it's difficult. It's not that easy. Something that looks very, very easy is not that easy on a daily basis, because you have to take into considerations that if you change just a minor thing in a heat pump system or in a marriage, doesn't really matter, you can break everything. And unfortunately, it's devastating when that happens, because a small impact over here could definitely have a much larger impact over here.
I had no idea that if I was having marital problems, I could talk heat pumps.
Come to me. Yes, come. Honestly, we can do an episode on that.
So I can go up to a friend of mine in the next bay who has a little bit of a struggle going on, and I could say, "How's your heat pump?"
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to be careful what I say now. But yes, that's exactly what you can do. That's exactly what it is. So, yeah. No, but listen, I mean, if you come home and don't bring flowers to your wife, the impact of that, I mean, you might think it's a very little thing. To her, it might be a big thing.
It's a heat pump catastrophe.
There you go. I mean, life is just
like
a heat pump.
I just didn't know how she was thinking.
I'm telling you. I mean, life is like a heat pump. I mean, not like a box of chocolate. It's just like a heat pump. It's awesome.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I knew
this is moving in the wrong
I knew this would be a precious episode. So much to learn here. I mean, not only are we talking refrigerants, we're talking life.
It's become a little bit of a Dr. Phil episode, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry.
You know who Dr. Phil is over in Europe?
Oh, believe me. Who doesn't?
He's got a show over there?
It's taped in the U.S., but it's broadcasted everywhere.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
It's, no, I'm not going to get into that.
So are you staying here in the U.S. and just going to STX? Are you going home again?
I'm going home tomorrow.
Wow.
Going home tomorrow. Come back for the STX in Nashville in 2 weeks.
You love to be in the air, huh?
Nope. I actually hate flying. But I love my job. I love what I do. I love to do training classes. I love to talk to you guys. I love the industry. I love the fact that we get out there and have the opportunity to talk to people about heat pumps That's and
No, I understand.
yeah,
The real heat
disclaimer:
pumps.
we don't talk about marriages during my training classes. We try to stay out of that. But no, I just love that, and yeah, I am actually not very fond of flying, but the work that I do, I just love it. I like it.
Tracy, I have an idea for the title of this episode. Life is like a heat pump.
Awesome. Yeah, nobody's gonna watch it, but yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Wow. What did I miss? Anything else?
No, no. I mean, I think you need to really focus on the chemicals you're using, and I think as a workshop today, it's just more demanding. It really is more demanding, and because I do this for a living, because I do this every day, and I do these training classes for trainers every second Friday for my own trainers and for valued customers. And when I actually go through with them, they're even confused about exactly which direction, what direction, and so forth. And you have to remember, they have to juggle multiple countries. This isn't just one country like the US or like Denmark, like Norway, Sweden, China, whatever. It's multiple countries and multiple legislations which change. And that's why I'm saying we really got to be careful about what we're saying, not getting into a situation where we can be misunderstood. Yeah.
I think like anything in the industry, Michael, my big takeaway from what you just said in this entire episode is don't be lazy. Don't get lazy and pay attention, because it's not SOPs or a standard way to do things has got to be out the door. And I think you have to stop, check your laziness, check your whatever you think you know you're going to do with this vehicle. If it's kind of new and modern, stop. Apply some common sense to what you're looking at.
True, but we have to be careful. I mean, I don't see it as laziness, and I don't think you mean.
No, I don't mean. No, I don't mean to be lazy. I mean, I just can't think of the right word right now.
No, that's true. And the issue is that a lot of the people that does legislation right now don't even really know what to do. They don't really know what the right path is. And just to give you an example, and as we talked about at the 927 episode, in Europe right now, they're now reevaluating whether this whole PFAS, so the acid that comes down from the air when refrigerants is released, they're not reevaluating. Is this really the way to go? Meaning that should we use 1234yf in Europe or HFO as it's called? Should we not? Should we use replacement? They kind of move themselves, they kind of corner themselves with all these different refrigerants. And back 12 years ago, when they actually approved 1234yf, maybe they should have waited 3-4 years and see, okay, is there something else we can do? Are there some things we need to be concerned about? But you have to remember, one thing is our industry, where we have to do things on a practical level. Another thing is politicians that wants to do better for the environment. And I fully get that. Unfortunately, our industry doesn't adapt that quickly. It doesn't. It takes years for us to do best practices, to make people understand this is the way it works. And even though if it is a replacement refrigerant, there's a warranty issue involved on it, on all of this. So there's money involved.
Yeah. So pay attention. Don't assume that what it was yesterday will be the same thing today.
Nope.
Do your case studies, do your reading. If you're an air conditioning specialist, be an expert extraordinaire. Pay attention, go to classes.
Well, honestly, I think we're seeing more and more. We used to have AC specialists, even in the US back in the days. I think we're seeing more and more of those coming up again. Yeah. Because it is tricky.
Yeah,
it really is.
This is great. Thank you for hanging out and coming back in the studio here. Michael Ingvardsen, Global Technical Training Manager, Nissens.
Welcome.
This was great, man.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Bye.